What's up, guys? So, once you're a celebrity, pretty much everything you do is being judged by people and makes headlines, especially if you are in the world of Hollywood since it's full of scandals. But undoubtedly, some are more scandalous than others, like Woody Allen's controversial relationship with his current wife, Soon-Yi Prévin, who, by the way, is 35 years younger than him. There is so much more to this story, so hit the bell and the subscription button and stay with me to find out everything about Woody Allen's relationship with his wife-daughter. The American writer, comedian, actor, and filmmaker who was born on December 1st of 1935 in Brooklyn, New York, is arguably one of the most controversial showbiz personalities in history. Although Woody Allen is famous for the extraordinary characters he wrote about to be played by many beautiful women, and for example his ex-wife, the gorgeous Mia Farrow, Woody is also famous for his socio-political criticism in his films. So speaking of women, we need to mention the extremely controversial relationship the director has, particularly with his marriage with his former adoptive daughter and his current wife, Soon-Yi Prévin. But before going there, let's do a brief review of the origins and bio of Allen. Who knows, maybe by doing so, we can even understand his controversial actions better. Alan Stewart Konigsberg changed his name to Woody Allen legally at the age of 17. He has Jewish origins since his parents belong to the second generation of immigrants. And since we mentioned the people who gave him life, let's talk in particular about his father, Martin, a versatile man in terms of jobs. He worked as a taxi driver, bartender, vendor, and even a bookseller, and that taught Woody to try his luck in different areas until he found his true passion, which was writing and comedy. In 1953, young Woody entered New York University, where he studied film production. However, as he had learned from his father, once he became unmotivated by what he was studying, he decided to abandon the project and began writing television scripts. And Allen finally hit the nail on the head when he found out his thing was creating comedy. His talent quickly became apparent, and he was soon recognized with an Emmy nomination for a production, Your Show of Shows. The strangest thing of all is that despite dedicating himself to what he does, from then until now, Woody always has a reputation for being too shy. Obviously, we're not going to mention every program, work, or movie that he wrote or directed because we would have to dedicate this whole video to that. Also, I know that you're waiting for the scandal of their marriage and accusations of abuse against them, so I will only mention some of the best known productions. Among them are What's Up, Tiger Lily, Bananas, Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask, and of course, the one that many consider his masterpiece, Manhattan. And of course, his collection couldn't be complete without his latest movie starring Timothée Chalamet, Selena Gomez, and Jude Law called A Rainy Day in New York. Why don't we talk about this last production that was finally released in Europe last summer? I said it was finally released because before that happened, the film and director had to go through a complicated path because originally Amazon Studios refused to release it, so the director filed a lawsuit for $68 million against them. And you may be wondering why the producer refused to release it? Well, I guess it's time for the scandals. In 2018, when the #MeToo movement was at its peak, Woody was accused of abuse by his former adoptive daughter, Dylan Farrow. And according to the allegations, the director impromptu touched her when she was just a little 7-year-old girl. And although this was not the first time that Dylan had spoken on this topic, in 2014, almost 2 decades after the alleged abuse, she also made a blog post of the renowned American journalist Nicholas Kristof. After such accusations, Allen's already deteriorated reputation deteriorated even further. Well, things got to such an extent that some actors and actresses, for example, like Golden Globe winner Greta Gerwig, said she regretted having worked for Allen and would never do so again. Also, both Timothée Chalamet and Rebecca Hall announced that they would donate the proceeds from their participation in the latest Woody film to charitable causes. And although it must be said that not everyone turned their backs on the director. One of the famous people who supported Woody's presumed innocence in his defense was the actor Alec Baldwin, who wrote the following on Twitter: "It's unfair and sad to me. I worked with Woody Allen 3 times and it was one of the privileges of my career." That's what people worked with him said, but what about the people who are closer to him, for example, like his now wife? Well, the truth is that it's very rare that she gives an interview, and when she does, it's usually brief. Plus, she never talks about personal topics. However, when the accusations against her husband had arose, Soon-Yi spoke exclusively with the New York magazine, and in it, she defended her husband. In fact, not only that, but she also said that Dylan Farrow was only taking advantage of the #MeToo movement and the force that she had gained to make unfair and uncertain statements, and even accused her own adoptive mother and Alan's ex Mia Farrow of being an abusive mother. Since we're talking about Soon-Yi, let's talk about how her controversial relationship with her ex-adoptive stepfather and today husband started. Back in 1975, Soon-Yi was a little 5-year-old Korean orphan girl when she was adopted by Mia Farrow and her then husband Soon-Yi Prévin in Seoul, the South Korean capital. However, despite what we could all imagine, Soon-Yi herself would declare years later that she was not at all happy with her new mother because, in her own words, they were like oil and water, and according to her, Farrow was anything but a loving mother. In fact, in the same interview for the New York magazine, Soon-Yi stated that more than the actress's daughter, she felt like her slave, since she had to do all of the household chores and would be punished if she didn't do it well. According to her statements, Mia often told her that she would send her to a psychiatric center. Among other harsh words, Soon-Yi shared with the magazine, and she said, "Mia used to write words on my arm which was humiliating, so I'd always wear long-sleeve shirts. She would also tip me upside down, holding me by my feet, to get my blood to drain to my head because she thought, or she read it, that God knows where she came up with the notion that blood going to my head would make me smarter or divorce her from Soon-Yi Prévin." But by then, Soon-Yi was already 10 years old, and with the arrival of the director in her life, her story changed, and 1980 was the year that Mia started dating Woody. And in 1992, 12 years after Alan became Soon-Yi's adoptive stepfather, he and Mia separated. The reasons? A strange and controversial intimate relationship between the director and Farrow's adoptive daughter. You can just imagine the tremendous scandal that arose when the news came to light, and for many years, the media talked about that topic. And a couple of years ago, precisely during the same interview with the well-known American magazine, Soon-Yi mentioned that she had never been a victim of either of the Allens, and that she believed the new accusations by Dylan Farrow were only made to take advantage of the famous #MeToo protest movement, which was intended to re-victimize herself and benefit by doing so. Already in 1992, when the bomb of her relationship with her stepfather was revealed, Soon-Yi declared the following: "I'm not a retarded little underage flower who was raped, molested, and spoiled by some evil stepfather. Not by a long shot." Even though Soon-Yi has since made it clear that nothing happened without her consent, her relationship and subsequent marriage to Alan have always been the talk of the town. And since we mentioned their marriage, it was one of the topics that the director himself addressed in his memoir called Apropos of Nothing. Incidentally, before the book was published, some workers at the French publisher Hachette protested the company's relationship with the controversial filmmaker. However, despite the protests, Alan's memoir was published. Between the confessions and all the controversy contained in his book, Woody clarifies everything about his relationship with his current wife and explains what led him to marry her in 1997 in Venice. When it came to marriage, neither of us had a great need to formalize our relationship. We both thought that no contract is worth printing if two parties are not happy with it. We loved each other and there was no need to resort to any legislature. We definitely wouldn't get married, and that was it. And then we finally got married. Why? Not for romantic reasons, but for strictly financial reasons. He adored Soon-Yi, and he knew that he was much older than her and that he could die suddenly, and if that happened, he wanted her to be legally protected to inherit everything he possessed automatically without problems. And even though he had a very hard and practical reason to get married, the ceremony was still very romantic, and the director and the bride had to take separate paths to get to the town hall in order to avoid the press. But those were not all of the controversial relationships that he talked about in the book. Woody also mentioned some information about the paternity of Ronan Farrow, and here's what he said. "One day Mia announced that she was pregnant, and I naturally thought that the child was mine and that luck had finally smiled our way. And despite the fact that she suggested that Ronan was the child of Frank Sinatra, I thought it was mine, although I never really knew the truth. So, what do you guys think? Do you think it's just one of those jokes that Alan is known for, or was Ronan really the son of the famous singer? What do you think of the controversial life, and in particular of Woody's controversial relationship and marriage with his former stepdaughter? Do you think Dylan Farrow's allegations are true? Let's talk about all of that in the comments, and remember to like, share, and become part of our Curious Sips family by subscribing to our channel. And also, don't forget to check out our Instagram account. Until next time.